to the latest twist in the massive media coverage of the Orlando tragedy. Donald Trump used his Facebook page to revoke the press credentials of the Washington Post, quote, based on the incredibly inaccurate coverage and reporting of the record-setting Trump campaign. Trump was referring to a headline the Post ran following this interview on Fox News yesterday morning.
We're led by a man that either is not tough, not smart, or he's got something else in mind. And the something else in mind, people can't believe it.
The headline that followed in the Post read, Donald Trump seems to connect President Obama to Orlando shooting, which is the same conclusion other news outlets drew from his statement. In response, the paper's executive editor, former Globe editor Marty Baron, released a statement saying, in part, Donald Trump's decision to revoke the Washington Post's press credentials is nothing less than a repudiation of the role of a free and independent press. The Post will continue to cover Donald Trump as it has all along, honorably, honestly, accurately, energetically, and unflinchingly. Of course, the Post is just the latest outlet to be banned by Trump over the course of this campaign. Among the others, BuzzFeed, Politico, The Daily Beast, Univision, and The Huffington Post. Joining me now to discuss a trend that is troubling to many journalists is Tom Fiedler, Dean of Boston University's College of Communication and a former executive editor of the Miami Herald, where he succeeded Marty Baron. Tom, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, as I just mentioned, a whole bunch of news outlets had the same reading of what Trump had to say on Fox and Friends. That was the way I happened to read it personally. Why is he focusing on the Post?
Well, it's because I suppose the Post had the most recent impact with the headline, a headline that they fairly quickly pulled down and rewrote, however. But I think the implication of what Trump was saying, it's so typical of Trump that he would throw something out there that leaves people to draw almost any conclusion that they want, including the most ominous one. I think and as soon though as somebody goes there and he realizes this was probably, or somebody tells him this was unpresidential, he tries to walk it back. But attacking the Washington Post, I think, is probably in some ways, at least in his view, a positive in terms of pulling the Republican base together.
I'm glad you mentioned that tweaked headline. The original headline said something along the lines of Trump suggests that Obama was involved with the Orlando shootings, and they changed it to seems to suggest. Right. Do you agree with Marty Baron that this is a unprecedented assault on a free press?
Well, I give Marty a little bit of latitude there. He is defending, of course, the Washington Post and speaking for those of us who believe very deeply in the First Amendment and a free press. It's probably a little over the top. When your press credentials are revoked, that doesn't mean that you cannot go out and still report freely. It just means that there's two levels here that I think are going on. One is the symbolic impact of what Trump has done here, and I think that's what Marty Baron was attacking, the symbolic impact of just saying to a particular news organization that you no longer have the ability to cover me. Well, of course, that's absurd. They still have the ability to carry them. So there's the symbolic statement, which he referred to, or I think Marty Baron pushed back on. And then there's the what is the realistic impact of losing their credentials?
Yeah, what do you think it is?
Well, it's frankly, it's not very much. It's if you're not credentialed as a reporter, that means basically that you're not on the bus, you're not on the plane. If you were traveling with them, that they don't take care of, they don't reserve your room, they don't handle your luggage, they don't give you the baggage call, and so forth. But the reality is that as a reporter, we have all the privileges of any citizen and or even non-citizen. You have the ability to attend certainly any public rally that a candidate is doing, and there's nothing to stop the press from digging deeply into Donald Trump's fitness to be president.
I think there was a case where a Politico reporter, Ben Schreckinger, I believe, was escorted out of a rally. He'd been banned, or Politico had been banned, or some combination of the two, and he got a general admission ticket, and they gave him the boot. So one point that you brought up is that the Post being able still to dig in as deeply as they want to Trump and his past and his present. Will this in some way help to preemptively discredit any damaging reporting that the Post does on Donald Trump? Because they had given him a really hard time just a week or two ago on the question of whether the money he'd raised for veterans was actually given to veterans. They drove that story. So will this hurt them going forward?
Well, this is, I think, clearly what is certainly a big part of what Donald Trump is doing. And that is a tactic that has been used by politicians who find themselves in the eye of the press often, as you discredit the attacker right away and then you turn. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't now a name that Donald Trump will give to the Washington Post, like lying or crooked Hillary.
Right. He's good at the names.
So there will be something with the Post and goes out there. But over time, I think if you put Donald Trump's credibility with most people, not with his base of support, against the Washington Post and against the media, as much as the media gets kicked around, and we certainly don't do well in polls, by and large, the credibility of the mainstream media, the Washington Post, is going to come out pretty highly.
The rest of the press, if we wanted, and I'm including WGBH News in this, we could sort of make a symbolic stand on behalf of the Post and other outlets that were banned by Trump. We could say, if you're not going to give them access, then we don't want the access either. We don't want to be admitted to your rally as a member of the media, and we're going to sit it out. Is that something that you think we in the media should think about doing?
I like that as a proposal to do that. If you're going to ban one of us, then all of us will refuse to participate. It kind of goes back to occupied the Netherlands in World War II, and they all decided to wear the yellow armband to stand in solidarity with those who were Jews.
Think anyone will do it?
Will they do it? No, they won't do it. And in part, that may be not a bad thing, because it would show that the media is not of one mind. We are a multi-layered we're a hydra-headed monster. I think,
media is
in the words
plural.
of many. Media is a plural.
Tom Fiedler, we got to wrap up there. I apologize. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.